The purpose of our meeting today is essentially to share information and develop a shared understanding of where we are in the preparations for the Ouagadougou +10 summit, which is going to happen in September, hosted by the government of Burkina Faso. Ouagadougou +10 is extremely significant for our continent, coming as it does just before the serious negotiations in New York for the post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda.
The moment is important. The eve of any summit is important. But we need, I think, to be fully conscious of the circumstances prevailing in your continent to judge the full importance of the summit which is quickly approaching. We know and we constantly repeat that Africa today is experiencing economic growth of a higher level and on a more sustained basis than it has for many decades. 6 out of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. However, I think the challenge before us is to ensure two things from this, in some ways, promising conjuncture. The first is to ensure that this good moment of economic growth is sustained and then that it is shared. And I think that we have to recognize that more frequently than we would like, encouraging economic growth has not been entirely reflected in more widespread, decent work opportunities for growing and young populations, and therefore that the new prosperity is not being shared perhaps as widely as we would like. These seem to me, ladies and gentlemen, issues that we would need to take up at the Ouagadougou +10 summit.
Africa is pushing for economic transformation, and it is hammering on inclusive growth and development. The issue of youth and women employment, which actually forms the basis, it should form the main basis of economic development in Africa. Now, it directly addresses the issue of inclusive growth that we are struggling with. It addresses the issue of development from the bottom upwards, because when you talk about children and women in Africa, you're talking about vulnerable groups, and that's the actual meaning of bottom up. If you go and look back what happened between 2004 and now, I personally believe it was a question of the right kind of follow-up, one. And secondly, what we lacked before was coordination amongst the various inputs that we were all putting towards the agenda. And here again, I was very pleased to hear the Director General actually hammering on those, as part of what ILO is going to produce for us, the kind of follow-up mechanisms, the right data for monitoring and evaluation, and then using all the technical, logistics, and financial know-how also that comes into supporting these issues.